Welcome to a life of possibilities and inspiring conversations. My name is Nkandu Belts, and our guest today is Natalie Dwyer West. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did, perfectly.
Wonderful. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you, thank you.
How are you?
I'm fantastic, just really excited to be here.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much for coming. So first, we're going to start with your title.
So I started as a clinical hypnotherapist first in my career over 10 years ago, and then I kind of was searching for a little bit more for my clients. Well, really my clients actually really led me to psychotherapy just purely because of what I wanted to do for them. So I restudied psychotherapy, and what that actually is, it's really the unconscious programming that we have between the age of 0 to 5.
Yes.
So we are programmed humans most of the time, and I work in the area of self-image and unconscious-based values.
Because I saw that that you've been doing this for quite some time now, but you have a corporate background as well.
I do. I have a 22-year corporate background. So I actually started when I was 18 in corporate sales and marketing, but I'd always had a fascination with the mind and what made someone say yes to a sale and what made someone say no.
And what was it? What were your findings?
Really what I found was value systems. So once it was, relationships that you build with that person and really understanding and asking the right questions about their value systems, the company's value systems, and what that actually means. Because a lot of people aren't aware of actually what your unconscious values are.
And these values, are they based on, because everybody lives by a certain hierarchy of values.
Correct.
So, it could be organizational, can be familiar, can be, health focused. So
it does. So in the area of self-image, which is the core of, if I was going to kind of balance it out, it'd be 50% self-image, and obviously values go in with that.
Yes.
But self-image is really everything that drives us, and our values drive our behaviour, positive or negative. So our minds are an amazing producer of direction, and really the clinical element of what I do, whether or not it's a company or an individual person that I'm seeing, it all comes back to their own self-image and value systems.
And this can also be influenced by cultures, isn't it?
Absolutely. So as I said earlier, like the critical times for anyone in their life is between the age of 0 to 5. So anyone in authority to you at that point in time in your life is basically everything is a clean slate, and you actually absorb every single thing that's given to you, whether or not it's real or not.
What do you mean whether it's real or not? So are you saying that we can actually create our own reality based on our own perception?
As you get older, absolutely. But between the ages of 0 to 5, you actually have no filters on you to actually choose what you don't want. So the way that your actual mind works, it's like a big computer. It's like a big laptop. And all it does is just record every single thing that you hear, see, whether even it's on the TV or the radio. So between the age of 0 to 5, you actually don't know or have the cognitive ability to say, no, I don't want that, I want that, that's come from mum or that's come from dad. It just all comes in through thought, feeling and reaction. And what happens is those embedded programs drive your behaviour for the rest of your life.
So how hard is it to change those behaviours later on? If, for example, let's say somebody has had a very tough or traumatic or not so nice experience, and then later in life they want to, change.
I'll use myself as an example. So I think we always end up in a career that, allows us to understand our own story. So I grew up in a very, tough childhood. So what I'm saying that is, very borderline poverty, mental illness. I moved a lot of schools, bullying. So everyone has a story.
Yes.
And it changes who they are. However, and then going through that and having my own issues with, as I got older and kind of not really understanding who I was, why I was so angry all the time. It took me till I was probably 28, 29, when I actually went and saw a psychotherapist. And I actually thought that there was something wrong with me, which most people do. After 2.5 hours, I actually had a full understanding of how my mind actually worked and why it was doing what it was doing. It wasn't out to get me. It was actually just protecting me based on the values that I'd been given by my, people in authority to me between the age of 0 to 5. So I'm a big believer, and my clients will say the same, is, some of them have been in therapy for 10 or 15 years and have never been shown how their mind works and actually explain to them why they do what they do. And the core thing that I want people to know, there is nothing wrong with you. Yeah. You just have to understand how you work.
So we're not defined by our past?
Absolutely not. And that's, I guess my heart breaks for people that think that if they've had a certain childhood, that's their lot in life as such. But it's so not. Because,
you find that a lot of people have gone through so much, trauma as children, and that carries on into adulthood. It does. And not many are lucky to, go through, like the program that you went through and seeing professionals to be able to break through from that.
Absolutely. And the core thing that I always ask everybody is, have you been shown how your mind actually works and why it does what it does? And the answer is generally no. Because you get stuck in the story.
We get stuck in the story, but then, how do we change the narrative? Do we introduce these programs into schools and universities?
So basically it's really understanding how your mind communicates with you. So as I said, between 0 to 5, everything's recorded in either little mini videos, pictures, black and white and colour, and it just gets stored. Yeah. So for example, if I use a lot of my clients that have had relationship problems, so they may have come from an abusive family, and then they choose, I'll put that in inverted commas, choose the same type of partners that may reflect their parents, which is normal programming. So your mind, if you're in that space, will record that as a normal functioning relationship. So, I've had many clients that have said to me, I know these people aren't good for me, but why do they always end up the same? Yeah. It's because your unconscious mind has a very deep embedded value system on what it believes is a relationship.
And how does the self-image fit in? Because is that with, image consulting, or is just...
So your unconscious mind has a certain view of you and the way that it sees you. Yeah. So if you actually look around again between 0 to 5, so anyone that's in authority to you, self-image, self-esteem, confidence, all comes from those people.
Yes.
So you're embedded with whoever's around you, and your self-image from an unconscious point can be either positive or negative and be in conflict. Yeah. So for example, if you go to do something new, you may find that one part of you will say, yes, you can do it, and the other part of you will go, stop, you're going to embarrass yourself. Yeah.
And that's just the voices that we've absorbed as children. Yeah.
Yes, and you feel like you're going a little bit crazy because you feel like there's two of you in there, but it's actually just protecting you from harm, or what it thinks is harm, embarrassment. But your self-image is 90% of where you'll end up in your life, along with your unconscious values. Yeah.
So are you working with mothers in this?
I work with everybody. I do speaking events on self-image and unconscious values. I have individual clients, corporate people, but it all actually comes down to self. Yeah. So someone will come to me and say, look, I want to be more successful, I want to earn more money, but it's actually not about that.
About that. So what are the values of that?
So the thing is the two core things that I find, especially when I do workshops and seminars as well, and I teach people the process, they can actually use it for the rest of their life. So if someone says, I just want love in a relationship that I've never had, but if your unconscious mind has no value or view of that love, it doesn't find it.
So, like, for example, you've just come back from Canada.
Yes.
And I know you've been you've done a number of workshops with your company and and teaching what you teach. So let's say, for example, for our viewers, let's say somebody's struggling to find love.
Yes.
What sort of process would you what are the step-by-step process would you take?
So basically, it's a little bit of history. Looking back, and it's not about getting stuck in the story. So the other thing too that my clients really love is that I don't talk about the story. Let's just talk about a little bit of history, mother, father, brother, very small, and then obviously any mental health issues and things like that as well, because that's the area that I work in. But if someone says I have struggling relationships, well, what we need to do is get that person to understand where their view of the relationship was between 0 to 5, their environment, and then change the unconscious mind's view on the current status of love if it's there.
Yeah.
Because funnily enough, I'd probably say 92% of my clients that will come to a workshop and we go through this relationship model and the mind model, they never write love.
It's there, but just in a different form, or
Well, it never comes up.
it never comes up.
But that's the core fundamental thing that humans need. And that's the relationship with yourself.
Yes.
So if you're actually externally trying to fill voids with someone else, looking for love,
It doesn't work.
yes, it doesn't work, because you have to understand where the gap is, fill the void yourself, and you become whole and really empowered.
So in a nutshell, saying, like you're teaching them to be inspired from within, so that, they don't have to constantly come to you, say, oh, Natalie, I'm stuck, but you give them the tools to...
I actually give them the whole process of how to actually, from woe to go, how their mind communicates with them, how to go through that process. We go through that within a 2-day workshop. Now, most of my clients that came to see me for previous things now see me probably 6 months, 12 months later for totally different things. It's more about business advice, career direction, but I also get them to understand the process before they come back. Because generally it's like, oh, okay, that's what it is.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back.